Okay, so we're starting a new section here. This is section 3.2, which deals with equations in two variables. Our first question here is asking us to determine whether the ordered pair is a solution to the given equation. Okay, so the first one we have here is y is equal to negative 3x plus 2. And then we have the coordinate negative 2, 8. Then for number 2 here, we have 3y plus 2x equals 0. And the pair that they give us is negative 2, 3. And then for the last one here, we have 1/2 x plus 3/2 y equals 0. Right? Same thing, we need to determine whether the ordered pair is a solution to the given equation. Okay, so go ahead and try that and see what you get. Okay, so for this, we want to determine whether the ordered pair is a solution to the given equation. So all we have to do is plug in our values, right? All right, and see if they are equal or not. So for the first one here, we have negative 2, 8. So negative 2 is our x value, and y is our 8 is our y value. So I just plug it in. So we get 8 here is equal to negative 3 times negative 2 plus 2, right? Well, negative 3 times negative 2, that's going to give me a positive 6 plus 2 will give me an 8. And then I bring that down. So they're both the same. So that means that this here is a solution to this pair here is a solution to the given equation. Okay. Let's try the next one here. All right. So this one, we have negative 2 as our x and 3 as our y. So again, we just plug it in. So we get 3 times 3 plus 2 times negative 2 equals 0. 3 times 3 is 9, minus 4, because 2 times negative 2 is um, negative 4. So, okay. And equals 0. Well, 9 minus 4 is 5, so that's not equal 0. So that means this is not a solution. So no, this one is a yes. Okay. All right. And then let's look at the last one here. So we have 1/2 times, again, this is our x value and that's our y value. So we have negative 3/2 plus 3/2 times y, which is 1/2. So remember, when you multiply fractions, you multiply across. So 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 1 is 3. And then 2 times 2 is 4. Okay? So negative 3/4 plus 3/4 is going to give us 0. So that is equal to 0 to the right. So that's true. So yes, this is a solution to the given equation. Okay, so for this one, we want to use the given values of the variable to make a vertical and horizontal table of solutions for the given equation. Okay, so basically this is the equation that we're given. Y is equal to x plus 4 divided by 2. And then we are given the x values. Okay, so we need to determine the vertical table as well as the horizontal table. All right, so the purpose of this problem here is to show you that we can show our work or our table either doing a vertical table or a horizontal table. A lot of time it's preference. Sometimes maybe a horizontal table is going to give you more, um, more space, right? If you're putting this in a document or something like that. So just depending on the situation. Okay. A lot of times I pick the vertical table because I just list my points and then I find my y value. Okay. But again, whatever, whatever the assignment is requiring you to do. All right. So here we're just plugging this in, right? So we're just plugging in our values. Uh, they tell us what our x values are. We would just plug them in and um, then we're able to find out what the y values um, are based off the x. Okay. So the first one we have we have a -8, so we're going to again plug in values here for x. So we got -8, right, plus 4. It's going to give us -4. So -4, right, divided by 2 will give us -2. So let me do that again. So again, -8 plus 4 is -4. And then divided by 2 will give us a -2. Okay. The next one we have -4. So -4 plus 4 is going to give us 0 divided by 2, right? So 0 divided by any number besides 0 is going to give us 0. And then 0 plus 4 is 4. 4 divided by 2 will just give us 2. And then 4 plus 4 is 8 divided by 2. So 4 plus 4 is 8 divided by 2. That will give us 4. Okay. And then we did exactly the same thing for the horizontal table, right? Well, we already did it for the vertical table, so we'll just um, write the same thing that we got from the vertical table. So we got -4, sorry, um, -4 divided by 2. So, so actually in this case, I'll just write down the x values that we got. So, or the x values they give it to us. So -8 minus 4, 0, 4, right? And then our output here will be -2, um, 0, 2, and 4. Okay. So in reality, we should actually have written it this way. So let me rewrite this here. So -8, -4, 0, 4. And then we got -2, 0, 2, and 4. Again, just to reiterate what I just said. So our goal is to plug in the values for x. So, right, and well, our goal is to figure out what the y value is based off the x values that they gave us. So, because of my space here, I condensed my work, but I should have written out all this here on the side to show how I got my answer for each one of these. Okay. So I would wrote down for the first one, I should have written down -8 plus 4 divided by 2. So -8 plus 4 is -4 divided by 2 is -2. So when x is equal to -8, the y value is -2. And I do exactly the same thing for the rest of those x values. Okay. So again, you should have your work there on the side. Again, because of space, I kind of condensed my work there. Okay, so in this one, what they want us to do is graph the equation. Okay, so let's say we have y is equal to 1/2 x minus 1. Okay. Now we can choose either a horizontal table or a vertical table. Okay. It doesn't tell us which table they want. So again, I prefer to doing the vertical table. All right. But again, it's up to you. So I have my X and then I have my Y table. And this time I'm going to give myself more space. Okay. So on the other one, last problem, they give us the values to plug in for X. Okay. This one, we're free to choose any X value that we want. I recommend 1, okay, to get the total picture or, what it looks like as a whole. I would pick numbers, negative numbers. So basically the left side of the graph, all right? And then I also pick positive numbers, okay, to cover the right side of the graph, okay? So, and then, you know, you don't want to just pick any numbers, but a lot of times I pick numbers that are close to 0, okay? And because that's easier to calculate. So not a lot of times I pick like -2, -1, 0, 1. Sorry, -2, -1, 0, 1, and +2. So normally those are like the 5 values I pick. Okay. This one I want to do a little bit differently because we do have a fraction in the front. Okay. So you can still pick those and it's not going to be too bad to calculate them. So, but in this case, since we have a half, what are good numbers that are going to be divisible by 2? What would be good numbers divisible by 2 to pick? Give me an example. Give me one. Okay, 4, 6, 8, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, right? So, because, 2 can go into 2, 2 can go into 4, 2 can go into 6, 2 to go into 8, right? They're all divisible by 2. If I pick, say, odd number like a 3, right, it's going to be a little bit more trickier. I still can do it, but it's going to give me a little bit more work. And I'll get like decimal answers. Okay. So what about the negative side? What numbers can I pick for the negative side? Exactly, right? Basically the opposite, right? -4, -2, -6, -8. -10, right? So there's a lot of numbers you pick. Again, why are we doing that? Because this is being multiplied by half or being divided by 2. So you want something that's going to be divisible by that. So let's pick, so for the negative side, I'm going to pick -4, a -2, and then 0, and then +2, and then +4. Okay. So those are the numbers I'm going to choose for my X values. Okay. And then I just plug them in. Right. So I get 1/2 times -4. All right. -1. So -4 divided by 2, or half of -4, is going to give us -2. So -2 minus 1 is going to give us -3. Okay. Same thing for this one. I'll have 1/2 times -2. So half of -2 is -1. So -1 minus 1. So we got -1 minus 1 will give us -2. Okay. And then for 0, that's easy. 1/2 1/2 times 0 minus 1, 1/2 of 0 is still going to give me 0. Minus 1 will give me -1. And then 1/2 times 2, well, half of 2 is 1. So 1 minus 1 is 0. And then half of 4 minus 1. Half of 4 is 2. 2 minus 1 will give me 1. So here, right, so that's going to be my ordered pair. we're going to have -4, -3. Then we have -2, -2. Then we have 0, -1. Then we have 2, 0. And then we have 4, 1. Okay. Then I just graphed them on my coordinate plane. Okay. So do you want to, again, pick numbers that make it easier for you to graph? Okay. So again, a lot of times if you didn't know what this graph looked like, just pick numbers from the left side of 0 and the right side of 0 and see where, where it leads you to. Okay. So I have -4, -3. So here's my first point. Then we got -2, -2, which is right there. Then we have 0, -1. Okay, then we have 2, 0. Then we have 4, 1. Okay. And then, of course, this is a line, right? So that means when we connect this, we have arrows on going both directions because it goes on forever, in both directions. So this would be our answer here based off the table that we wrote down. All right, so this question is the same question as the previous one. This one wants us to, again, graph the equation. However, we need to solve the y first. So we want to graph the equation. However, we need to solve for y first. Okay. So let's look at this one. Okay. So let's say we have 3x plus 2y equals 6. Okay. So again, we want to graph the equation, but we want to solve for the y first. Okay. All right, so go ahead and see if you can do that. All right, so let's go through this together. So how do we get y by itself? What do we do? What's our first step? This is a good prep question for your midterm, right? When we did the formula section. So what do we do? How do we get y by itself? What's our first step? Yeah, exactly, right? Subtract 3x. Okay? So, right, subtract 3x, subtract 3x. All right, so the 3x's are going to go away, right? So I have 2y on the left, and then I like to put the variable in the front. So I'm going to rearrange this and have -3x plus 6. Okay? All right. Then what's our next step? Get divide, right? We're going to divide each one by 2. Okay? So y is equal to -3/2 x plus 3. Okay. All right. So this is what they want. They want us to solve for y first, and so that's what we did. Okay. All right. So now we can write our table or draw our table. Okay. So I can just make this a little bit smaller here. Okay. So I'll have again, I'm going to do a vertical table and I'll just use a different color here. Okay. So we have X, oops, X, and then our Y table. Okay. So again, we have a fraction. All right. And what do we know about this fraction? It's divisible by what? 2. So what numbers are good to pick here? Even or odd? Even, right? Even numbers are good to pick, right? You can pick odd if you want, but again, it's gonna make it more, you're gonna have decimal answers. So I want to pick even ones. So 2, 4, 6, 8. So do the opposite. So I like to pick at least 5 numbers. So I'll do -4, okay, -2, 0, 2, and then 4. Okay. So -4, we get -3/2 times 4, okay, plus 3. So that gives us what? We can write 4 as 4 over 1. Then we can get -3 times 4 is -12. -12 divided by 2 is going to give us -6. Then plus 3 will give us a -3. Okay? I do the same thing for this one. I get -3/2 multiplied by -2 plus 3. Well, again, I can put that over 1 if I want to. -3 times -2 is a positive 6. Divided by 2 is going to give me a 3. So 3 plus 3 will give me 6. Okay. Next one, I have -3/2 times that by 0 plus 3. Well, 0, any number multiplied by 0 is going to give us 0. So 0 plus 3 will give me 3. Same thing for this one. -3 times 2 plus 3. Well, 2 over 1. Well, the 2's here are going to cancel, right? So I'll just have -3 divided by 1 is -3 plus 3 will give me 0. And then the last one here, -3 times 4 plus 3. All right, so again, I can put this over 1. -3 times 4 is -12 divided by 2. It's going to give me a -6. I messed up on there. Shoot. Okay. I'll fix that. -3 times 4 is -12 divided by 2 is -6 plus 3 is -3. I messed up on the first one. That should have been negative number there. Okay, so that's going to give me -3, -4 is a positive 12 divided by 2 is a positive 6. That should have been a positive 6. So this should have been a 9 here. Okay. This is all right. So again, these are our coordinates. We have -4, 9, -2, 6. We have 0, 3, 2, 0, and 4, -3. Okay. So move this a little bit here. Okay. So I have -4, 9. So 7, 8, 9. So 9's up here, right? So -4, 9 is here. Then we have -2, 6 is here. Then we have 0, 3, right? So again, these should start lining up. If they're not lining up, that means we did something wrong in our math. 2, 0, and then 4, -3. which is right there. Okay, and then we just connect the dots. Okay, so, and then that's our solution there. All right, so this is the same type of question as our last problem. This time we have negative 2x plus 6y equals 12. So again, what's our first step here? What do we have to do first? Good, right? So we're gonna have to add first, right? Add the 2x. Good. So add the 2x on both sides. Okay, so that cancels, gives us 6y equals 2x plus 12. Again, I like to have that x in the front there. Okay, and then our last step here is just to divide, right? So divide everything by 6. So we get y is equal to 1/3 x plus 2. Okay, so that is our equation that we are working with. All right. Just a little bit. Okay, so now I can draw my x and y table. So then I'll use my, okay. All right. So this case, we have an odd number here. Okay. Um, Now we can pick an odd number. We have to be careful though, because again, it will produce, some of it will produce a a decimal answer. So what are we thinking here? What what numbers can we pick for x if it needs to be divided by 3? Okay, 6. What's another number? Then we need 5. Good, right? Exactly. 3, 12, 6. So basically what? -6 next, right? We need multiples of 3. So multiples of 3 will be a good one. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, right? Those are multiples of 3. Okay? So we just need 5. So I can do -6. Let me use a different color here. Okay. So I can do -6, right? -3, okay, 0, 3, and then 6. Okay, so -6, I have 1/3 times -6 plus 2. Okay, kind of wrote that a bit. Let me rewrite that. So 1/3. 6 plus 2, right? So 1/3 of 6, or 6 divided by 3 is 2. Sorry, I did it again. That should be a -6, right? Plus 2 plus 12. There we go. So -6 divided by 3 is going to be -2 plus 2. One more time. 1/3. -6 divided by 3 is -2 plus 2 is going to give us a 0. Okay. Then we have 1/3 times that by -3 plus 2. So -3 divided by 3 is -1. Plus 2 will give us 1. Well, 0. Sorry, 1/3 times 0 plus 2. So that's going to give us 0 plus 2, which is 2. And then we have 1/3 times 3 plus 2. So 1/3 of times 3 is going to give us 1. So 1 plus 2, which is 3. And then 1/3 times 6 plus 2 is going to give us 2 plus 2, which is equal to 4. Okay, so our coordinates are going to be -6, 0, -3, 1, 0, 2, 3, 3, 6, 4. Okay, so then we can plot these. So -6, 0, -3, 1, 0, 3, sorry, 3, 3. Oh, we have 0, 2. There we go. That's what I missed. So 0, 2, 3, 3, and then 6, 4. Okay. So again, this is a linear equation, so we should have a straight line. If any of the points are off, that means we did something wrong. Okay. Let me just connect our dots. Okay, so here it says the cumulative number of HIV infections, I in thousands during year T is modeled by the equation I equals 42T minus 83,197, where T is greater than or equal to 2,000. Evaluate I for T equals 2,000 and for T equals 2005. Okay, so for A there, all we're doing is plugging in our values for T, right? So A, um, we have I is equal to 42 times 2,000 minus 83,197. And then we have I is equal to um, 42 times 2005 minus 83,197. Okay. So when we do that for 2000, we get 803 here. Okay. And then for this one, we get 1013. Now it tells us this is I is in thousands. So technically this should be 803,000. Okay. And then this one would be 1,013,000. Okay, so for A. For part B, they want us to use the graphs, the results from part A to graph the equation. All right, so I have that here to save us on time. All right, so here's our graph for B. Okay. All right, so there's 2,000, about 800 here, and then 2005 is a little over 1,000 or the 1 million mark. Okay. And then in what year was I equals 971? Well, we can solve for I here. I'm sorry, for T. See what we get there. So let me pause here for a second. Okay, so it doesn't say, look at the table or the graph. It just says in what year I equals 971. So if we want to be accurate, then we want to plug in the value for I and solve for T. Okay. So again, we have I is equal to 42 times T minus 83,197. I is equal to 971. 42T minus 83197, and then we solve for T. So we add 83197 on both sides. This cancels. When we add that, we get 84,168 equals 42T, and then divide both sides by 42. Okay, So T gives us 2004. Okay, which is kind of hard to pinpoint on a graph unless you plug it in directly.